squads with Mendy. They've improved, right?
On paper, yeah. I just don't see how you play all these players together. Because now, rather than the midfield, can you tell me what their midfield is? I generally don't know, by the way, before people start crying, because this is the section where everyone starts crying. Is this the section where I start getting attacked? Yeah. I already know. Get ready.
There's a question that you asked Terry the other day.
Get ready for the chat rate to go up, by the way.
Now, Terry, there's a question that you asked Terry the other day as well in the group. I think you should ask him again, to be honest. You asked him about midfield. You asked him if a certain midfield is better than a certain midfield, bro. Remember that one?
You really want to talk about that?
Oh, yeah, you can ask him again.
I think it's evidential. Like, I don't think we need to even talk about that anymore. Chelsea's midfield is better.
Ask him. Terry, do you think Arsenal's is better?
I'm not changing my mind just yet, no. Hang on, but I'll explain it, because I don't just give superlatives and hyperbolic sentences and then not want to explain it. I actually like being questioned about my logic more so than what I've said, because I think the logic is where it is. Chelsea's midfield is amazing. Let me just start by saying that I've done nothing but praise them for the last couple of weeks. The team, the progression, you've matured. There is a chance this year, a real good chance, that I'm convinced it's better. I think it's amazing, but I actually think Arsenal's is very good as well. I really, really do. And I think adding Zubimendi...
You just said Eze is going to start in the middle.
Hang on. Well, I base it on what I've witnessed and seen. Now, if what I've seen in the last 8 to 9 weeks, so the back end of the Premier League season and in the Club World Cup, if that... And listen, João Pedro came in and scored those goals. Palmer was brilliant in the final. But the reason you got to the final was Enzo and more so Caicedo over the course of that tournament, barring the one game where the counter-attack just did you, barring that one game, which ended up being inconsequential, those two were they were your linchpins. They were the most important part. And generally, yes, you might have teams that had Messi and Ronaldo in, but look at the fucking midfields they have. The teams that win things consistently, the teams that finish higher in the league, generally have better midfields than the teams they're finishing ahead of, as a typical rule for me. You're in that 8-week period, those guys have matured, they've clicked, and they've become amazing. If they do that over the course of the 38-game season, and Arsenal's doesn't improve with the signings they've made, I think you can finish ahead of them. I look at your strike forces, and I think with what they're buying, what you're buying, very, very similar to each other. Defensively, yes, their goalkeeper and their defenders, I would still say, are better than yours, and that plays a part, but not in terms of dominating the ball, pinning a team back. How easy is it to penetrate and create chances? As an example, your midfields are very close to each other. I'm not changing my mind yet, but I'm open-minded to it. Because your midfield is amazing.
It ain't no 9 weeks either. Because I've been telling you what Enzo's been on all season. I've been telling you what Caicedo's been on all season. I've been telling you what Palmer was on start of the season. And even when he fell off in front of goal, he was still creating a lot of chances. Yeah. I was showing you who's progressed the ball the most in the midfield all season. Yeah. So let's not act as if it's just it's been the last 3 months and that. It's been the whole season.
Statistically, Don, you've done some, by the way, one of the best midfields in the Premier League all season. I'm not denying that. But what we're doing here, and I think is really important for this premise, is we are nitpicking between two very good midfields. We know they're two very good midfields because Arsenal didn't even have a great year last year, and they were still Champions League semi-finalists and second in the Premier League. Yes, that isn't a trophy, but I don't think you have massively crap departments of a team.
Yeah, but bro, I've already told you this before, though. Villa finished below them, and for me, Villa have got a better midfield.
I disagree. I disagree.
Hold on, Newcastle finished below them, and Newcastle have got a better midfield than them, right? Liverpool finished. Hold on, Liverpool won the league, and Arsenal have got a better defense. So just because you finish above someone doesn't mean that a certain area is better.
I disagree to a certain extent. The thing is with what's their names? Newcastle, as you pointed out, they had a period in the season. I might get the dates slightly wrong here because this is just off the cuff we're talking. From around November till about March, where they were just untouchable, if we remember correctly, where the midfield dominated every game, but they weren't doing that in games earlier on in the season. Now, some of that was selection issues. Players weren't being played and Tonali wasn't in the team and these things happen. But look, Arsenal had players injured and they missed games and things happen, right? This is how football works. Managers make mistakes as well. But over the course of the season, I saw Newcastle get battered at home by teams. They're not always perfect. The thing is we'll see a really good game. Go, oh, look how good that midfield is, man. But are you watching it week in, week out, every week? No. Arsenal's midfield is fantastic. Is a very, very, very good midfield over the last 3 years.
I think what you're doing, Terry. Listen, at the end of the day, people need to comprehend something. People need to comprehend something. Yeah?
But you can't comprehend when you don't ever let me finish. I've actually not been able to actually finish my point 3 times, and then you tell me what's wrong with my point, but you haven't heard it all. I am nitpicking here between very good midfields, and I think the problem that people have is that everything's bad shit, good, brilliant, crap. No, for me, both very, very good indeed. But I'm judging it over a period of time. And yes, you had moments like when you said like Palmer killing at the beginning of the season. Palmer had a terrible second half of the season. He's part of your midfield.
In front of goal, not in terms of chance creation.
But that's an important part of his job as an attacking midfield player. And I'm not going
to create chances too.
And I didn't criticize him for that, but that's an important part of his game, and it was off, right? We all criticize the lack of goals from Odegaard. I'm going to criticize a better player for having a lack of goals as well. That would be disingenuous to not do that. But for me, like I've said, if what I saw, and I'm talking about I saw in that last 6 games and what I saw in the Club World Cup was a different level to what I saw the entirety of last season from Chelsea. You went up a gear. If that level maintains, and Arsenal don't improve with these new guys that's coming in a year's time, I can very, very conceivably see myself saying that Chelsea's is now better. But over the last 3 years, I'm not backing down on what I said 5 weeks ago, because that was then. Things can change moving forward, and I'm malleable in that way, because if you're not, I think you're a bit of a mug, really, if you never want to change your mind.
I'll be real. I don't think Arsenal's midfield was great last year. And the reason, and it's no surprise to me that they're progressing the ball at the same rate as West Ham. You know what I mean? West Ham have got 0 midfield. Man United fucking progressing the ball through the midfield at the same rate as Man United, bro. Yeah.
When you say, hang on, let me ask you a question. When you say progressing the ball, what do you mean by that? Like visually, how would that look when I watch it? What would that look like?
I'm talking about passes. I'm talking about chances created. I'm talking about, bro, driving through the middle. You know what I'm saying? All of these things, bro. They were bottom tier. They were bottom tier for that, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? So end of the day, when it comes to judging them as individuals, I think Rice is a very good player. I think Odegaard at his best is a very good player, right? Zubimendi, you're bringing him in, I think is a good player as well. But like I keep telling you, Terry, it's the way that midfield is set up. It's imbalanced. That's the problem here. And that's the thing that you failed to understand. Because I am not playing Declan Rice in an 8, in an advanced position over Palmer or an Enzo. I'm not playing Odegaard ahead of Palmer. Right, and Caicedo, you already know Caicedo walks into basically any team. You know what I'm saying, bro? So end of the day, listen, you can think that. That's your take, that's your opinion. I'm not gonna, try to fight for you to change your take. I'm just saying that I think it's a bit mad that you're still saying them, in all honesty, because when you just look at the eye test and you go look at all the underlying metrics, you can clearly see that we're better than these guys, especially through the middle, bro. Right? The fluidity in Chelsea's team is mad. It's mad, bro. But
it wasn't. But again, the thing is, but it wasn't. And I know some of the games you missed chances, but it wasn't between Christmas time and the end of March. You had a 3-month period where it completely felt the whole team. You were leaking opportunities. You were dominating for like the first half. The second half were awful, and your midfield was part of that, right? Now, listen. What you'll say is
the issue was our attack.
I disagree. Listen, your attack not finishing chances cost you certain games, but you had loads of large parts of matches where you were open, where you were countered on easy, where you suddenly stopped dominating the game. I watched these football matches and I sat on here with Chelsea fans losing their mind at your overall team. Now, I'm not saying that makes Caicedo a bad player. This is why it's, again, and individually you can get stats and go, they're better. And I did some work a little while ago on Data Mob, which I know Data MB that you use, and actually took Man United midfielders last year and compared them to your midfielders. And on some of those spiders, some of our midfielders were better. And I think you beat us on 2 marginally and we beat you on 1. But as a collective, our midfield's nowhere near as good as you. But statistically, as individuals, you could sit there and make an argument for it not being as bad. I judge it when I'm judging the midfield. I don't really care about the stats to a certain degree. For instance, we know that Saliba and Gabriel over the last 3 years have been the best. We all agree the best centre-back pairing in the league.
Bro, they've got the best defense in the league. But they want
right. But we would agree. But you can hang on. But you can go and look at stats now and find a defender. Oh, he's made more interceptions and he made more tackles and he does this better. But we know by watching those two as a collective together for the last 2 to 3 seasons, we would objectively just sit there and say, stats all aside, that as a collective has been better. And that's with Ramsdale in goal. That's been with Raya in goal. When I look at Arsenal, as I've said, I'm judging it over a period of time. Chelsea's growth is doing this, and it's catched them, or it's caught them, or gone past them in some people's minds. And you've got a very good chance of doing it. But for me, I want to see how it operates in title races. I want to see how it holds up next season. And again, this is a factor that we have to throw in. What we haven't seen your team do yet, and I think you'll handle it fine, by the way, is playing 2 games a week, Champions League, Premier League. What we saw you guys do last week, and you had a 3-month period where you could barely win a game, is you were playing a reserve team midweek for Europe, and then your main team at the weekend, playing 2 hard games a week for the majority of a season. We all know it's harder. And we've all said for years it's a harder thing to do. There's all these things to factor in.
I think you overrate Arsenal's midfield, bro. I've named a couple of teams that I think have better midfield than theirs, bro. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I would even put theirs in the top 5. I'll be real. the way it's set up like that, nah, bro. No, Declan Rice in the 8. Miss me with that bullshit, bro.
Well, and then that's last year. But now what they're doing is they're adding Zubimendi to it, and they're looking like they're adding Eze. And to the point that Staffy got into, and I think we'll go to this now because you and I will just agree to disagree. If we can keep going in circles.